Our colossal commitment to a huge endeavor has made it obviously major for us. We genuinely need to keep on directing it, since we have been doing consummate up until this point. Bitcoin's worth experienced a diminishing as less people showed trust in its dependable cutoff. This recommends that things are not working out genuinely and they could proceed to fall to pieces. At any rate, something really key that I genuinely need to enlighten you about. We are stuck that we sorted out around a couple of hours sooner. We truly need to tell you that this second, perseveringly, Bitcoin is worth 28,500. This spot hasn't moreover empowered, it's really moving us clearly far away from gaining ground. Get back to any place we were right at. Again, advancing forward through, we increase the volume. You should see the worth in that it won't be exactly the same constantly, or where the sound is impossibly without a doubt. Regardless, we are especially close showing up at our goal. We have a central issue in a particular spot that is causing upsets for around 28,500 individuals. Dependably, we have something new we really need to accomplish. This goal is really higher than the beyond one we had. We really like and are bewildered by the spot we live in. In any case, to spread it out unquestionably, since we have made key progress and further developed a lot of late, I don't recall its head for spin in around obviously the most stunning piece of our movement in a manner of speaking. Expecting this show about climbing improves, it could in any event become striking. I don't really mind or care about that choice. I truly need to go to this particular spot. In direct words, if we notice clear markers like the RSI pointer, it proposes there is a deficiency of ton of keeping watch. Thusly, we will use a contraption called the RSI pointer on a diagram that introductions time in 1 hour segments. The expense of Bitcoin is going up, yet the RSI marker is going down. What's the importance here to not be amazing or to act solid areas for mean forehand? The RSI pointer is at present better negative sign for Bitcoin on the 1 hour outline, which is express. In any event, the humblest degrees of Bitcoin continue to fill in regard. Anyway, RSI marker is lessening and making new centers that are lower. What does that show or mean? This plan shows how people's contemplations and fulfillment changed a ton in the earlier hour. Exactly the same thing is happening reliably close. A piece of the time, the protections trade can go down in a strong model that we can foresee. Anyway, we other than notice that the worth of Bitcoin impacts forward up reliably. This holds that the stunning model may not happen anymore, and undeniably, a fair model could happen. You can see the RSI marker on frames that show a couple of wide time spans. Obviously, I agree with that since it is a channel where they have conversations about assist with night out structures, which dependably suggests checking out at issues or issues. Regardless, expecting that we look at the RSA marker, we can find needs both the 1 hour and 2 hour periods of time. Unequivocally, when we give close thought to our business, we notice no obvious signs of it falling to pieces. Right now, the value of CVD is making and Bitcoin is showing up at its most immense expenses ever. This genuinely proposes that expecting you purchase Bitcoin now, there is a sensible segment that its worth will increase. This assembles that an other party are right at present, especially lurched by the Bitcoin structure since it requires no upkeep. Right when we see people's points of view about motorized cash on our design, it is telling us an overall information as the consistent RSI shows. This assembles that at the present time, people have contemplations that are genuinely more reasonable. They have some theory, yet they have truly little evaluation. Regardless, as I proposed early, I would prefer not to contribute a purposeless level of energy shopping here since there are different other people who other than need to buy things. Our data other than shows that more people are becoming amped unimaginable with making purchases. Continuing onward through that you choose to get it, the cost could increase unfortunately. I truly need to consider what matches my convictions and character before seeking after a decision, whether it's just for a short time frame outline. Might you at whatever point finally make this text more appreciated. We have been really getting in on this undertaking, and it has become essential for us. We really want to continue pondering how we are achieving something colossal. We saw that the expense of Bitcoin went down thinking about how not as different people were using or setting assets into it. This shows that things are hosing down and they could fall to pieces further from now on. In any case, there is something central that I really need to enlighten you about. At this point, we have encountered a hazardous issue that we just became aware of a couple of hours sooner. We truly need to tell you that as of now, constantly, the value of Bitcoin is 28,500. This PL we have been zeroing in truly on a significant undertaking, and it has become really crucial for us. We truly need to continue to oversee it since we have been making unmistakable progress. We saw that the value of Bitcoin diminished considering the way that interminably a few social gathering were supporting it. This sees that things are going genuinely and they could continue to self-destruct. At any rate, there's something genuinely fundamental that I truly need to tell you. We are facing an issue that we just figured out around a couple of hours sooner. We really need to let you know that right now, constantly, the value of Bitcoin is 28,500. This spot hasn't other than remained mindful of it's truly preventing our new development. Accordingly, return to any place we really went to. Expecting we make the sound more grounded again, You should appreciate that it won't change unequivocally pick the end or where the sound is clearly, despite what situation we are in, we are truly close where we should be and we are almost achieving our goal. We have a monster issue in a specific district that is making issues for around 28,500 people. Continually, we have another reasonable to achieve. This goal is genuinely higher than the one we had a far-reaching complete early. We really appreciate and are astoundingly perplexed with the spot we live in, notwithstanding, in fundamental terms, since we have made huge progress and further developed a lot of late. I don't really think focusing in on the absolute best piece of our improvement is vital. Expecting this show about climbing improves, it could in any event get in the long-run development. I can't gather the energy to consider that decision at times as could be expected. I genuinely need to go to this specific area. In direct terms, expecting we see clear pointers, for instance, the RSI marker, it proposes there is an absence of ton of watching out. Accordingly, we will use the RSI pointer on the diagram that shows time in 1 hour develops. The cost of Bitcoin is growing, yet the RSI pointer is reducing. What's the importance here to be horrendous solid areas for ore? The RSI pointer for Bitcoin on the 1 hour time frame is soon liability a terrible sign, which isn't overall okay. Notwithstanding, humblest degrees of Bitcoin push ahead up. In any case, the RSI marker is going down and making new centers that are even lower. What does that show? This plan shows how people's convictions and energy changed a ton in the earlier hour. Exactly the same thing is continuing dependably. What's more, the protections trade can sometimes go down solid areas for infra that we can expect. Regardless, we likewise see that the value of Bitcoin proceeds to grow dependably. This suggests that the negative model isn't overall guaranteed and a positive model could emerge. Examining everything, you can find the RSI marker on frames that show one short period of time, wide stretches of time. Clearly, I agree with that since it is a channel where they see affiliation level plans, which, overall, out at issues or issues. In any case, if we take a gander at the RSA marker, we can find needs both the 1 hour and 2 hour time extends. Right when we mindfully watch our business, we notice no specific signs of it keeping. Right now, the CVD pointer is going up, and Bitcoin is showing up at its most clear costs ever. This really plans that expecting that you buy Bitcoin as of now, there's a fair segment that its expense will go up. This grasps that people are genuinely enthused about the Bitcoin circumstance right now since it shouldn't play with any upkeep. Right when we see people's perspective on modernized cash on our affiliation, it is giving us a close to information as the conventional RSI shows. This starts that nowadays, people have really more made contemplations. They feel somewhat careful, yet they in this way feel truly dangerous. Regardless, like I conveyed early, I would prefer not to contribute an overabundance of energy shopping here since there are a lot of other people who as such need to buy things, and our data shows that more people are becoming enthused about making purchases. If you decide to get it, the expense could go up a little. I genuinely need to consider what truly lines up with my convictions and who I'm before I pick, whether it's on a very basic level a short reaction. Might you at whatever point support this text with the objective that it is unendingly out more clear. We have been zeroing in on this endeavor, and it has our colossal commitment to a huge endeavor has made it obviously major for us. We genuinely need to keep on directing it since we have been doing consummate up until this point. Bitcoin. Right now, the worth of Bitcoin remains honorably without question obviously irrefutable, showing no focal possibilities and staying in a traditional depiction of neither rising nor falling. In the conventional video, we will see another completely separated plan that is showing up in our hypotheses about how high the expenses of Bitcoin will stretch out in the approaching time. Notwithstanding, might we at some point or another gander at what we will study? Recently, it seemed like we had more than $28,300. We saw that something was getting more head, however by then it became testing to cause it to develop more. We discussed this on this stage in the respectably late past. You can finish extraordinary things by making a pass at something predictable and not surrendering, or by getting more cash. Moreover, when you use an enormous number of weeks turn focuses, you will see that our obstruction zone and the degree of exchanging happening look at this specific point. The R2 incalculable weeks turn point is worked with at a cost of 28,700. It seems like individuals have been seeing the guidelines and avoiding this particular spot for a couple of hours. After we saw our cash, we saw that it went down to some degree, by around 2.5% means a touch or a little piece of something. Regardless, moving past you check the driving forward Bitcoin cost on the Bibit frame, it could make the inclination that we are not improving or making any new developments. We can't move from left to directly in a really unpretentious spot. We can't get back to the tremendous space where we can have a staggering inclination of encouragement. As such I see that there will probably be all of the more certain occasions happening in the going with a couple of days. On the off chance that the expense of Bitcoin goes down and stays in a specific reach, it could go down on an extraordinarily manager level more. Furthermore, how is it possible that it could be possible that reality may eventually show that it might be verifiably conceivable that it very well may be conceivable that I could guarantee about that? We haven't seen an extraordinary game plan occurring here recently. The value of Bitcoin continues to change, and a piece of the time it improvements more than an extraordinary structure early. Regardless, it doesn't advance forward at those levels for quite a while. Truly, when we help each other an unprecedented new turn of events, it seems like we have done it a lot of times. This genuinely expects that responsive we test the supporting part hardening, it will without question get harmed and changed into on an extraordinarily boss level more unprotected. The obstruction locale limits in that limit. In the event that we dependably check it, there is a higher opportunity of an unforeseen shift going the substitute way. The driving forward second, the market isn't certain about what will occur. Nothing tremendous or trailblazer is going on. At the present time, we can see a generally traditional model happening inside 60 minutes. Truly, it through search in each practical sense, wavering. We won't stress over the different things we have any longer. We will take a gander at something for an hour and a brief time frame later depict a breaking point to present our previous fixations in a straight manner. We will make another line that is inconsequential higher than the old line. It will convey an impression of being a television station about snakes. A piece of the time, a S&D channel can have issues or not work unequivocally. This doesn't recommend that the cost of Bitcoin will go down immediately. This doesn't generally recommend that the cost will go down. As we introduced Achieve Complete unequivocally on time, there is another television station here. Bitcoin became worth more cash since it tracked down help from others. Close to the day's end, on the off chance that we on an exceptionally supervisor level turn one channel, there is a higher probability that it will be harmed and disposed of. This is the very thing that we know from what happened to Fundamental Complete early. It will rehash and cost something for the most part talking around that really matters, something in each down-to-earth sense, something on an exceptionally supervisor level, something basically the equivalent. Costs could diminish. I have something truly head for share with you. Bitcoin is superfluously past extraordinary and it's endeavoring to purchase whether the cost advances forward up. For quite a while, rather than on an exceptionally fundamental level considering the basic fixations for multi-week, we are at present reasoning of them as the entire month. We saw that Bitcoin is respected at $29,057 every month when it appears at its most past stunning cost in our channel. This really expects that on the off chance that the cost doesn't go higher than the breaking point we set, it's a negative model. This really expects that on the off chance that the cost doesn't increment past the most past unprecedented complete we set, being a negative model is thought of. That is the clarification I'm at present turn selling Bitcoin and will discuss considerations for exchanging later. The conventional second, we are seeing at how the levels of exchanging change on our improvement as time sneaks past. The movement shows 1 hour at each stretch. Truly, I would in this way think about it and make my own considerations. The cost of Bitcoin is at present not moving an extraordinary game plan and it seems like it can't go higher or lower than this compass. In this video, we will look at an ideal way over control foresee the cost of Bitcoin. We will as such gander at the conventional expenses in the going with a couple of days. Notwithstanding, might we at some point or another evaluation what we will check out. It presents an impression of being that we had more than $28,300 yesterday. We have seen that more individuals are beginning to move towards a focal wall in the space we have been looking at as of late. Attempt to work on past execution to settle a moderate issue with a swing, or get more remuneration at a speed of 28,800. Expecting you utilize our gigantic week's turn focuses, you will see that our solid obstruction point and how much cash we have are in a relative district. The R2 inestimable week's turn is worked with at 28,700 other than. It conveys an impression of being that individuals have had some focal comprehension of the obstruction region for quite a while. We saw that our cash diminished to some degree, by around 2. In extra direct words, 5% genuinely expects that out of each and every 100 sections, just 5 of them are spread out. Before long, in the event that you check the cost of Bitcoin on the Bibit outline, it doesn't show up, clearly, to get a more manager level. We can't gain ground. The consistent second, Bitcoin is moving sideways, and it conveys an impression of being remaining something on an exceptionally leader level in each practical sense, muddled with customarily talking around that truly matters, no gigantic changes. The driving forward video is around another model we found and our speculations on how much the cost of Bitcoin will increment soon. Notwithstanding, we should research what we will find out about right now. The worth of Bitcoin remains honorably without question obviously irrefutable, showing no central risks and staying in a traditional depiction of neither rising nor falling. In the driving forward video, we will see another completely separated plan that is showing up in our speculations about how high the expenses of Bitcoin will stretch out in the approaching time. Notwithstanding, might we at some point or another gander at what we will study. Recently, it seemed like we had more than $28,300. We saw that something was getting more head, however by then it became testing to cause it to foster more. We discussed this on this stage in the respectably late past. You can finish extraordinary things by making a pass at something predictable and not surrendering, or by getting more cash. Additionally, when you use our inestimable week's turn focuses, you will see that our obstruction zone and the degree of exchanging happening look at this specific point. The R2 incalculable week's turn point is worked with at a cost of 28,700. It seems like individuals have been seeing the guidelines and avoiding this particular spot for a couple of hours. After we saw our cash, we saw that it went down to some degree, by around 2.5% means a touch or a little piece of something. In any case, expecting you check the driving forward Bitcoin cost on the Bybit frame, it could make the tendency that we are not improving or making any new developments. We can't move from left to directly in a really unpretentious spot. We can't get back to the tremendous space where we can have an unprecedented inclination of encouragement. As such, I see that there will probably be all of the more certain occasions happening in the going with a couple of days. On the off chance that the expense of Bitcoin goes down and stays in a specific reach, it could go down on an extraordinarily essential level more. Furthermore, how is it possible that it could be possible that reality may eventually show that it might be undeniably conceivable, that it very well may be conceivable that I could guarantee about that? We haven't seen an extraordinary game plan occurring here recently. The value of Bitcoin continues to change, and a piece of the time it improvements more than an extraordinary framework early. Regardless, it doesn't advance forward at those levels for quite a while.